me, I'm poor. Hi, guys, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Yankified Podcast. Happy Thanksgiving. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to all. Everyone in the chat, everyone that's going to hop on in the future tonight. I hope all of you have a very special Thanksgiving with your families wherever you may be. My best wishes to all of you and my utmost appreciation for everyone that will be watching today. So, what's going on? I'll tell you what, we have to talk about Hal Steinbrenner. We have to. So that's what's going to be up on the docket. We're going to break down the major talking points from Hal Steinbrenner's press conference. I'm not going to rant and scream. I mean, none of what he said is particularly a surprise. I think you could probably do like a Hal Steinbrenner bingo where you kind of knew that the talking points that he was going to touch on. Lowering payroll, his expenses. Normally he mentions his bondsman. This time it was the city of New York. Basically the same thing. You know that he was going to bring up those two things. He was always going to say that Aaron Boone's a good manager. Very good manager. You knew he was going to say that. So that's not a surprise either. And so he kind of touched, and he touched on all the things that we expected him to touch on. So it's not like he said anything that was outrageous. And also, let's be fair here. The bar was hell after the way that Brian Cashman started this offseason with his ridiculous presser in October, where he was going after Jeter and A-Rod, and it was all really about controlling the narrative. That's really what Brian Cashman's all about of late, and it was a massive ego trip. Was his press conference in October. I'm very proud of this bunch, but I will leave it to the masses to decide. I'll never forget when he said that. It was the perfect example of why this Yankee organization's so lost. So with Hal Steinbrenner following it up, I mean, first of all, it's very nice that he graced us with his presence. I thought that was really good of him, to be fair. But he didn't say anything that was too outrageously shocking, but it was still weird. It was still weird. Like, there are areas that he went to where I'm honestly in disbelief. Does he have a PR guy? He must have. Surely these guys would be well aware that if he starts trying to plead poverty with us, it's going to go down bad. And once again, he tried. I'm in disbelief about that, and that's one of the main things that I'm astonished at. But there was certainly a bunch of comments, and we're going to go through each and every one of the main talking points, and give my thoughts on it as we head into Thanksgiving. I thought I would do an emergency stream for you guys. It's a perfect opportunity. You guys will be probably with your families now, or maybe will be driving home from work or wherever you guys might be. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to give you some of my thoughts. We had considering we did a podcast a couple of days ago saying, what is it that Hal Steinbrenner is going to say? And so here's the follow-up. Here's what he actually said. So before we get into it, let's say hello to those in the chat. Got Blaze in the chat. What's going on, Blaze? Hal needs to take a hard look in the mirror. Are we truly a championship team? Are we better than the Blue Jays who knocked us out in the ALDS? The Red Sox have improved, and both the Rays and the Orioles are bouncing back from tough season. Hal needs to open his wallet and invest. Key word there, invest. The thing is, what the Yankees organization seems to miss, right, is I think from my pulse on the fan base, certainly from my interactions with y'all, we're not asking for a $400 million payroll. I'm not asking for a $350 million payroll. A lot of it is actually about investing wisely. There's one thing about spending and another thing about spending wisely. And that's something that the Yankees don't seem to understand about this fan base. We understand the difference between the two. It's not the case that Hal doesn't spend anything, because he actually does. He's spent well over $1 billion since our last championship, but he's given the money to Brian Cashman, who's not spent it wisely. There's no argument to say that he spent it wisely to this point. And Hal doesn't oversee anything. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not really about the spending for me. It's Hal's interest in what he's doing, or his interest in who he's leading. I don't get the impression that he cares. Like, I don't get the impression that he's a Yankee fan. I don't think he cares about the Yankees from Adam. I really don't. And he's certainly not interested in overseeing it and taking an active role in it. Like, there's no evidence to suggest that he takes even the most passive role in this organization. Like, there's no evidence to say he does. Like, first of all, this is only the second time we've seen him. The last time we saw him was about the facial hair policy, and now we haven't heard from him at all right through the year, and we haven't heard from him right until now. So, and to be honest, let's be honest, nothing's changed. There's really no changes that have been taking place in the organization since it's like 2010. Like, the front office is basically exactly the same. It's hard to really say that you are that invested in the operation of the Yankees as a whole, and then you look and see that there's really been nothing changed. Aaron Boone's still in charge. It's really largely the same group, and he just doesn't seem that interested. For me, I don't get it. I don't. Got Issy in the chat. What's going on, Is? Hal is clearly distracted by other interests. I believe they include brown liquor, luxury boats, and bikinis. That's my guy, Issy, man. Issy takes no shit. I love it. If number 99 doesn't win a championship during his career, we have the biggest letdown in Yankee history. This is facts. This is facts. I mean, it's worse than the Don Mattingly era. No disrespect to Mattingly, but Aaron Judge is a better player than him. Don Mattingly, even. And the Yankees have missed the boat. They've completely missed the boat. They've completely missed the point of what they're supposed to be doing right now. Yes, they absolutely should take some responsibility. Yes, they absolutely should feel pressure that Aaron Judge's window is closing. They absolutely need to feel that. Because here's the difference, right? The Dodgers have a similarly all-time great player in Ohtani. And they have absolutely no expenses spared to make sure that they put a championship team around Ohtani and that they take advantage of their window. This is their title window. And they are going for it. And they're showing basically the Yankees what the Yankees should be. The Dodgers are right now. The Dodgers are who the Yankees should be. And they're taking advantage of Ohtani's window. And the Yankees, on the other hand, the similarly great player, aren't taking advantage of their window. That's the big difference right there. That's a big difference right there. Got FJ in the chat. Good evening, FJ. Got O1 in the chat. What's going on? What is happening here? Good Jonathan in the chat. Blaze says here the payroll must be in the 355 range, especially with the looming uncertainty of a potential lockout in 2027. This is the moment to go all in. Imai and Tucker and Diaz, could you imagine? That would be, I mean, I completely agree with you. Tucker should be the guy. Imai should be the guy. Diaz is a good shout. But certainly those two names, Imai and Tucker, should be absolutely first and foremost. And we got John the Beagle Dad saying happy Thanksgiving to you all. Happy Thanksgiving, John the Beagle Dad. So if let's get the business aspect out of the way. Everybody could hit the like button, hit the sub button. If there is a hype button, hit the hype button. That's a new thing, and that helps the algorithm as well. So let's get into this stuff. Let's start with one of the more interesting aspects of Hal's press conference, and that was the base running situation. Now, here's what's interesting about it. He wasn't wrong. At least he was honest about it. By the way, he was more honest than Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone about it. Yeah, the base running was a huge error, huge mistake, huge problem all year long. The base running, the mental mistakes were a huge problem all year long. Hal Steinbrenner was spot on. Absolutely spot on about that. But what you are trying to sell us is that the big problem was the first base coach? That's what you're trying to sell me. You're trying to sell me that the New York Yankees season was being derailed by a first base coach. That's what you're trying to sell me. That's what you're trying to tell us Yankee fans. Oh yeah, it was the first base coach that was the problem. That's what you're basically trying to tell me. And I'm sorry, you'd have to be an idiot if you think that the first base coach / base running coach was the problem. And then overlook who allowed that shit to happen under his nose. And that's Aaron Boone. So anyway, let's look at this. Let's look at these comments here. Right. Hal Steinbrenner identified base running as the biggest improvement needed for 2026. The base running mistakes were not good. We've made a change there coaching-wise. We're going to expect better results this coming year. Okay. Again, what planet are you on, Hal? What planet are you on that you're actually going to try and convince us that the problem there was the first base coach? Aaron Boone himself all year long said he didn't have an issue with the base running. He said it himself. He says that it's being overblown by the media. Aaron Boone said that. He said that it was being overblown by the media. The base running mistakes. Right? His own players kept saying, I'd do it again. Jazz Chisholm said, I'd do it again. Anthony Volpe said, I'd do it again. So these players were all saying, I would make these mistakes again and again. Aaron Boone had no issue with it. Aaron Boone is the one cultivating that. What planet are you on, Hal? So we made a change there, coaching. Yeah, we'll change the coaching there, and we expect better results this time round with the base running because that was the we've made a change for the coaching. A first base coach, when your manager, who you actually now then spent, and we'll get into that later, you actually spent a good portion of time telling us how great Aaron Boone is. Such a good manager, great manager, really good manager, right? How really good Aaron Boone is, but then you actually say, and you're right to say, that mental mistakes were a huge, huge issue, right? So which one is it? Because Aaron Boone allowed all that to happen. That's not even being negative. That's not even being anything other than objective. The manager sets the culture. The manager sets the culture. It's the manager's responsibility to make sure that everybody's locked in and ready to play. It's as simple as that. But you're trying to tell us that Aaron Boone is this great manager, but there's been mental mistakes, which was a problem all year long. So the first base coach? So why would you allow your season to be derailed by this awful first base coach, apparently? You see, that's the kind of stuff that someone in the media should be asking. You should be allowed to have a follow-up question with that in mind. So, you're saying, Sulhal, while you are absolutely spot on that the Yankees had a lot of mental mistakes through the course of the year, and then the base running was a huge problem. However, your manager himself said that it wasn't a big deal and it was being overblown. So your own manager said that. So would that not mean that there is a problem there in terms of communication? And wait, do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, how can you try and claim that the first base coach is the reason for the problem with the mental mistakes and the awful base running when Aaron Boone said it wasn't an issue? You know what I'm saying? And by the way, it wasn't just Aaron Boone, because Brian Cashman had this crazy quote where he said regarding that issue, he said, "Oh well, people have been calling me about my coaching, my great coaching team and our excellent base running. They have been calling me about it. They are really interested in our base running guys, so it can't be that bad." Brian Cashman said it. So Brian Cashman said it wasn't a big deal. Aaron Boone said it wasn't a big deal. But the owner says it's a big deal. That's interesting. So what was the owner's response to that? Firing the first base coach. What is that really going to do? Aaron Boone cultivates this culture. He cultivates that culture. The first base coach has nothing to do with cultivating that culture. If your own players are saying, "I would do that again," if your own players, like Anthony Volpe, would be like, "I'd do that again." If your own players are saying, like such as Jazz Chisholm, would be like, "I'd do it again." If they're saying that I would do it again, do you think it's really the first base coach that the problem is there? Or do you think it's your manager? You can't fool me, man. We got Luca in the chat. What's up? Thanks for joining, Luca. My guy, Luca. Looking forward to doing some Knicks content with Luca very, very soon. Got Stevie B in the chat. What's going on, Stevie B? Got Dev Finch in the chat. What's going on, man? We got Louis in the chat. Louis like, "Why is Donald ranting? Did something happen?" Have you heard me rant? I'm not ranting. I'm absolutely just going through the points. You want to see me rant? you'll know exactly what a rant is. This is not a rant. There's nothing to rant about, but you have to be concerned. You have to be concerned by what Hal's saying because he sounds tone deaf. What's going on, Steve? Awesome. Right, let's get into more of Hal Steinbrenner. Hal Steinbrenner was asked about what encouraged him and disappointed him about the 2025 Yankees. This was another thing, once again, very similar to the whole base running thing, where it's like he seems tone deaf to this. How well we played together, how incredible the clubhouse was. That was what he was really impressed with. How well they played together, how incredible the clubhouse was. But what was disappointing was the results. I didn't like that 6 to 7 week period that we had where we were making mistakes. I mean, nothing he said was wrong. That's where it's funny. It's just like sometimes he actually says things that aren't exactly wrong, but he's tone deaf. Like, for instance, when you say, I didn't like that 6 to 7 week period that we had where we were making mistakes, who do you think's in charge of that? Your great manager. It's not the base running coach. Yeah, that 6 to 7 week period had a lot to do with Aaron Boone's very poor culture that he has in this incredible clubhouse. So wait, that doesn't make any sense. So you say that they had an incredible clubhouse, but then you also say for basically 2 months, they played like ass, right? Which is spot on, but they did play like ass for 2 months. But how incredible could that clubhouse actually be if they allowed themselves to have this awful culture where they played like ass for 2 months? Do you know what I'm saying? But once again, the Yankees are waving the togetherness flag. They're not waving any pennant flag. They're waving the togetherness flag. That's what the Yankees are all about now. The Yankees are all about togetherness. So once again, really happy with how they played together. The clubhouse was incredible. Great. So they liked each other. How lovely. How sweet. They liked each other. I couldn't give a shit if they liked each other or not. This is not what it's about. It's not about making friends. I mean, to point out Mike Francesa, like when he said, and he had a great rant, and I completely agree with him here. Great togetherness, that's lovely. But what did you do? You won nothing. You didn't win. Give me the 79 team where they hated each other. Because they actually won. It doesn't make a difference if they're friends or not. It's about the ultimate goal, and the Yankees are no longer about the ultimate goal. The Yankees are about togetherness. That's what the Yankees are about now. Togetherness. Being together with friends. That's what they're about. The Yankees are no longer the Yankees anymore. And Hal is telling us exactly that. What's up, John the Beagle Dad? Hey, Donald, this is a nice surprise. Thought I would surprise you guys on Thanksgiving. Billy Martin and Reggie hate each other. Yeah, they won. Exactly. It's not about whether they like each other or not. What's this? This is a good point here. The goal is not to win every time. It's about delighting the fans. It's about friendship, guys. That's what it's about. And Hal said it himself. How well they played together, how incredible the clubhouse was. That's what encouraged him about the year. It's tone deaf. So, again, well, while he wasn't necessarily wrong, it's pretty obvious that the culture of the Yankees is no longer about winning. Right. Next point. The Dodgers. This is always very interesting. I asked Chris Kirshner here. Salute to Chris Kirshner, who actually does his job, and very well, I might add. I asked Hal Steinbrenner about his quote at the beginning of the year. Ooh, someone actually asked Hal Steinbrenner a tough question. Color me shocked. I asked Hal Steinbrenner about his quote at the beginning of the year about how it's difficult for most owners to spend like the Dodgers. He said that, and he wondered if it would pay off for them. Well, it kind of has paid off for them, right? Back-to-back championships. And now that it has, does it change his thinking of how the Yankees approach the offseason? Right. Let's break this down. Because once again, Hal Steinbrenner is tone deaf. If there's a correlation between spending the most money and winning a championship, I still think it's a weak correlation sample size of data. I mean, the last two championship winning ball clubs all reside with the LA Dodgers with a back-to-back championship, and they are basically in a dynasty right now as we speak. So there's a strong correlation. It's not absolute, but it is a strong correlation. But they earned every bit of it. They struggled with injuries. Here we go. Him and his injuries. Him and the Dodgers' injuries. They struggled with injuries throughout the season, which I did talk about in that same quote. But they got healthy at the right time. The rotation got healthy, and when that rotation is healthy, they're tough to beat. They quite frankly played up to their potential. Yeah, I'd say so. They really played up to their potential, especially those last two games. That has to happen. Your players have to play up to their potential. Dude, did you even watch the World Series? You're on about potential. Your players have to play up to their potential when you're playing a team as good as the Blue Jays, and you're not. Blah, blah, blah. Hats off to them. It's not easy to do twice. And they did it in dramatic fashion this time. This is my bet. This is my favorite bet here. But again, we'll see what they do next year. We'll see how it pans out. What? What? Do you really say that about the back-to-back world champions? Did you just say, we'll see what they do next year, and we'll see how it pans out? Please tell me I'm not the only one that sees that as a ridiculous thing to say. The back-to-back World Series champion Dodgers, and you're like, oh, we'll see what they do next year. I have a pretty good feeling. Pretty good feeling. I mean, his last point, again, wasn't wrong, though. There was nothing low about my payroll and the Mets payroll. Look where we ended up. He isn't necessarily wrong, but did you investigate why your payroll's high and why you got where you ended up, as you just actually said? Do you investigate that? No, you haven't, because nothing's changed, apart from this awful first base coach, apparently. But that comment here, we'll see what they do next year. We'll see how it pans out. What are you talking about? Exactly. It's ridiculous. They've already panned out. That's exactly it. What do you mean we'll see how it pans out? They're in a dynasty, man. Like, are you aware of the stuff that's coming out of your mouth? Are you aware of that? The Dodgers are in the middle of a dynasty. As we speak, they're in a dynasty. And you just said, we'll see how it pans out. We'll see what they do next year. Why are you challenging the World Series champions to go and do it again? Are you not using them as a barometer going, this is what we should be doing? Again, Francesa says that the Dodgers are making the Yankees look like an A-ball team. And he's spot on. Because we sound like we have an A-ball owner right now. Oh, we'll see what they do again next year. They have to stay healthy. Your obsession with health, man. The Dodgers outspend any worries about health because they attack every position of need. The Yankees leave positions open. The Yankees went an entire year without addressing third base until the trade deadline. Left the entire winter. But you're not worried about that. The Yankees haven't had a league average shortstop in about since Didi Gregorius. The Yankees haven't had a league average shortstop. But you're not worried about that. No. That doesn't help your narrative. Dodgers, avoiding injury. Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. There's not a correlation between spending. It's a good correlation, man. It's a good correlation. It's not absolute. You do need to have an actual competent front office. He's not wrong about that because the Yankees' payroll is high. But to say that there's not a direct correlation is tough to sell. It's a tough sell. They are a juggernaut, I see. Absolutely, they're a juggernaut. They're a juggernaut. So, anyway, that was his comments on the Dodgers. All right, let's get to the next point. Will the Yankees' payroll change in 2026? This was a disaster for Hal Steinbrenner. This one. Listen, would it be ideal if it went down? Of course. What? Would it be ideal if it went down? Of course. Does that mean it's going to happen? Of course not. We want to field a team we believe can win a championship. Well, he saved the day a little bit there. That's what I'm saying. Like, at heart, I think that he's trying to say the right thing. But because he is not an active owner, he ends up coming across terribly. Would it be ideal if it went down? Of course. Why would it be ideal? Why is that even a thought? You're the owner of the biggest sports empire in the world, the Yankees. And you're concerned with, ideally, I would love to have a lower payroll than we already have. Why is that even in your thought process? Like, that's a massive disconnect there, man. Like, do you have a PR guy? Because you should fire him. I know you don't fire anybody, but, well, apart from this first base coach. But you don't fire anyone, but I would fire your PR guy, buddy, because that is a stupid thing to say. Would it be ideal if the payroll went down? Of course. How is that ideal? What are we doing, guys? That's not ideal. Try selling that to the fans. That is not ideal. Thank you very much, Issy. Issy has what Hal Steinbrenner should have said as the owner of the New York Yankees. The correct answer is, and always is, we are the New York Yankees. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to bring this city and organization a world championship. Full stop. That's all you have to say. Shout out to Issy there because he is much wiser than our owner, who just said, ideally, I would love to have a lower payroll. You're so tone deaf, man. That isn't ideal to the Yankees' championship prospects. Oh, jeez. It confounds me, man. his ownership is confounding. Would it be ideal if it went down? Of course. In the history of ownership, that doesn't that like no one says that out loud. Fucking hell. Next point. Let's go into Hal Steinbrenner's evaluation of Aaron Boone. He makes overall good decisions on the field. You can't pin this on Aaron Boone, that's for sure. This Toronto series was on the player's shoulders, period. It goes beyond the Toronto series, man. Because you just said to yourself that there was a 7-week period where the Yankees played terribly. You don't think the manager has anything to do with that? He makes overall good decisions on the field. And then he also went in further depth where he said that Aaron Boone, he's really good at talking to you guys, meaning the media, Cash's guys. He's not perfect, but I'm not perfect, and you're not perfect, so no one's perfect. So he's good. He's a good manager. That was basically what he said. Cool. Nothing's changed. This is the same manager that has the only Yankee manager in the history of the New York Yankee organization. It's never happened to earn multiple extensions without winning a championship. It's never happened before. Never happened in the history of the Yankees until now. But here's where there's where it doesn't really make sense. So you're saying that they made a bunch of mental mistakes. They played 7 weeks and played badly and made a ton of mistakes, right? And your answer to that is, I'll fire the first base coach. So you've admitted that there's a coaching problem, but you're not looking at the manager. Surely I'm not the only one that sees a logic issue there. I can't be the only one in this chat that sees a logic issue there. There's clearly a logic issue. There's a big breakdown in logic there. Hal, seriously, man, you need to take a step back and look at this. You can't be this naive. You're a smart businessman, right? You're definitely not a smart baseball guy, but listen to your answers. Run them through in your mind, right? Rewind. Rewind those answers and listen to yourself. You said that there was mental mistakes happening and it's a coaching problem. Who's in charge of the coaches? The players played badly for a 7-week stretch. That was your biggest concern. And they didn't show up against Toronto. Who's in charge of that? How? Hint. Psst. It's not the first base coach. It's Aaron Boone. But really, that's what I'm saying. He isn't wrong when he says that the biggest thing he was happy about is the fact that everybody loved each other. Everyone was best pals. That's what it's about for the Yankees now. It's not about winning. He's basically said it without saying it. The Yankees are no longer about winning. We'll see what the Dodgers do next year. We're about togetherness. And we're world champions at togetherness. Evan in the chat. Good to see Evan in the chat. The players weren't prepared, and that's on Boone. Exactly. Well said, Evan. Happy Thanksgiving. I don't sense a unified message from this management at all. Exactly. It's not. There's no unified message. And the best example was what I pointed out earlier. Aaron Boone said that the base running problems were overblown. Brian Cashman said that people have been calling him about their base running coaches, wanting to nab them from him. And so Brian Cashman said, so clearly our base running is not that bad after all. And it's actually pretty damn good. So Cashman doesn't have a problem with it. Boone doesn't have a problem with it. The players didn't have a problem with it either because they all said the same thing. I would do it again. But the owner had a problem with it. So it doesn't sound like it's that unified, right? Hal said that he was concerned about the base running mistakes, the mental mistakes. He's concerned about that, but he's not looking at the manager because the manager's great. you gotta run through that again, Hal. You gotta look at that again. All right, let's some advice, man to man here, okay? If you're gonna try and bullshit us, you got to do a little bit better, right? You got to do a little stronger, right? Try again, okay? That's my advice to you. Try again. But again, he's not wrong in regards to the Toronto series was on the players' shoulders. Yeah, the players didn't show up. But again, who's in charge of that? But you also have to look at the fact regarding Aaron Boone that, again, he's saying here it's the players' fault, players' fault, players' fault. The Yankees have been changing their personnel on an annual basis. The one thing that's ever present, is Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone. That's the one. Those are the two things that are ever present. We've had a million different combinations of players to put around Aaron Judge. A million band-aids to put around Aaron Judge. Right? So you're following through on that it's the player's fault. It's the player's fault every year, right? So you change the players, but it's the same result. You keep the manager, and it's the same result. So again, I ask you, Hal, man to man, take a step back. Listen to my logic. Anyone that has any sense of logic can pinpoint the holes in his narrative. But the Yankees aren't interested in that. They think that we're all stupid. So let's move on to the next and by far the worst point. This is really my biggest takeaway from this weird press conference. Was this from Brian Hoke. Hal Steinbrenner said it is not fair to assume the Yankees make a profit. Oh, brother. I don't want to get into it, so he gets into it. But that's not a fair statement or an accurate statement. Everybody wants to talk about revenues. Hal, stay away from it, man. This is not something you're going to win. Everybody wants to talk about revenues. Oh God, this is so bad. Brace yourselves, guys. If you're drinking, take a stiff drink right now. Obviously, take it under advisement. Nothing dangerous, but I mean, I don't drink, but I would drink if I have to say this again. They need to talk about our expenses, including the $100 million expense to the city of New York that we have to pay every February 1st, including the COVID year. So it all starts to add up in a hurry. Oh God. Oh dear God. The owner of the New York Yankees an $8 billion valued organization, and the owner is trying to plead poverty. I don't want to get into it, but that's not a fair statement or an accurate statement. Everybody wants to talk about revenues. They need to talk about our expenses, including the $100 million expense to the city of New York. How? You opened this can of worms. You have to be smarter than this. See, I'm not ranting and screaming here. I'm just trying to be. I'm trying to look at it from any point of view, any kind of fair point of view. But any way you look at it, this is a horrible answer. They need to talk about our expenses, including the $100 million expense to the city of New York. How? You cannot plead poverty of the as the owner of the Yankees, but then expect that the fans are gonna pay through the nose for your product when they have their own hardships, right? Do you know the amount of sacrifices that a lot of Yankee fans have to make to afford those trips to your stadium, Hal? For parking, for food, for merchandise, for the latest shirt, for the latest hat, of your $8 billion revenue empire that apparently you don't make a profit from. You cannot plead poverty, man. Seriously, who do you think you are, man? There are a lot of people that have to make a lot of sacrifices that do not earn millions of dollars a year, that do not bring in $700 million worth of revenue. They need to talk about our expenses. Well, what about our bills? What about our expenses? I highly doubt that you're going to be freaking lowering those, are you? You're not going to be lowering the Yankee expenses. I highly doubt you're going to soften the ticket prices. You're not going to be lowering the price of merchandise, are you? No, you're not going to do that. The $100 million expense to the city of New York? Dude, we don't care about your tax situation. We don't care. That's not the fans' job to care. Why are you putting on the fans to worry about an expense to the city of New York? New Yorkers have their own freaking bills to pay to the city of New York. Good Lord. And by the way, that's something that you signed up for with been building that stadium. The bondsman, which you bring up every year, part of the deal was $100 million expense to the city of New York. It's part of the deal, man. You signed up for it when building that stadium. Suck it up. I don't doubt you have expenses, but don't try and plead poverty. Who do you think you are? Who the fuck do you think you are? It's just disgraceful. God, comment in the chat here. Who cares what he says? It's his actions. Well, you're not wrong. His actions are important, but this is what the owner of the biggest sports empire in North America has just said. He's trying to plead poverty. I care about what he says because he says that ideally he'd like to lower payroll. It says to me that he's not that interested. It's a good point here from Dave Rice here. The Dodgers donated $100 million to the city of Los Angeles, the disastrous fires. So, Hal's trying to plead poverty. Help me, I'm poor. What are you doing? Good luck trying to win that battle, man. Good luck trying to win that battle. You can't win that battle. It's tone deaf. It's also disingenuous in the extreme. It's tone deaf and disingenuous. Honestly, it's insulting to read that, actually. Well, what about my expenses? What? I really hope that he cares, but I don't see it. I'm at this point now. How, dude, you don't get it. You don't get it. You just don't get it. you can't try and plead poverty. There's no other owner that does that, especially with the size of empire that you run. At no point did Hal say, I'm disappointed, I'm unhappy, this is unacceptable, we should be winning a championship. We've not won since 2009. We deserve better. Our fans deserve better. It's up to us, and it starts with me. How do I fix that? Did I hear that? No. Instead, I hear, well, what about the expenses I have to pay to the city of New York? It gets to a real point here where it's very clear that he just doesn't care. I'm not saying he's cheap. He's not cheap, but he just doesn't care. And that's almost worse. He does not care. You cannot say that as an owner of the freaking Yankees. This logo is enormous. Everywhere you go, every hat stand on planet Earth has this logo. Everywhere you go, every state, every country, every non-baseball liking country sells this logo. You can't plead poverty. You make more money hand over fist in terms of revenue. Now, of course, we understand we're not stupid. We understand it's not all liquid. But if that's what it's all about for you, why don't you sell up, man? But you wouldn't do that because you're living the high life right now. You got your yachts, you got your investments in AC Milan. You got NYCFC. You get to go to Europe and hang out on your yachts. So you're not going to give up the freaking cash cow, are you? No. But you are going to try and plead poverty. As he says here, I travel a lot for work, and not once have I been in any airport, domestic or international, for more than 30 minutes and not seen a Yankee hat. Exactly. This logo transcends the sport of baseball. Now, according to Forbes, the only more valuable organizations in the world, you're talking about things like Real Madrid, Manchester United, and the Yankees. North America, it's the Cowboys and the Yankees. It's enormous. But it also means that the expectations are enormous. Yes, I understand that there's pressures. Thus, if you can't hack it, find someone who can. It's really that simple. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because for all of us, I think everybody in the chat here, the Yankees have been passed down to you, right, from a family member. I think that's pretty fair to suggest, right? For most of us, it's a love that passed on through generations. So, if some of you wonder why there are good portions of the season where I rant and I yell and I call everybody this, that, and the other, it's coming from a love and a passionate place because I know what this organization means to the family members that have passed this on to me. I used to go to the old stadium with my grandfather. I went to the David Goins' perfect game. I saw the Yankee championships in the 90s, the late 90s. My grandfather is buried with a Yankee hat. He absolutely loved the Yankees. He absolutely loved them. And he donated all his Yankee library of books to me. So yeah, I do take that as a legacy that I want to try and carry on. Hence this podcast. I try and carry on my love of the Yankees. And it's passionate. And I know not every fan has that sense of passion or that sense of win at all costs, but I have that because I was brought up through that. Thus, I have expectations. But it is interesting because that is passed on through the generations. You know what has also been passed on through the generations? Hal's ownership. His dad loved the Yankees. I'm not going to go into, well, if George was alive, blah, blah, blah. I know people are bored about that. But you can tie it in because my love of the Yankees came from it being passed on from a family member, right? Well, it's the same thing here. George passed on his Yankees that he bought for what, $6 million? Now it's worth $6 billion. That's actually worth $8 billion. That was his business. That was his business. That was his family business. He made the Yankees an empire, and he passed it on to his son. You would think that his son would feel some responsibility that he'd want to carry on that empire. But his son takes no responsibility and really doesn't want the job. You can tell by his conversations, by the things that he says. Well, the family may start with shipbuilding, but my point is, he bought the Yankees, he made it an empire, and he's passed it on to his son, and his son is not taking up the mantle. He's doing the exact opposite of what he should be doing as an owner of the Yanks. He's allowed the Mets to start taking the best free agents from the Yanks. generational free agent last year. We had him in our backyard, Juan Soto. The Mets took him. The Yankees are getting lapped by the Dodgers. The Yankees are 10, 20 laps behind the Dodgers now. The Dodgers are now a dynasty. The Dodgers have the best of the best. The Dodgers, every single free agency, get the best free agents. Full stop. Thanks very much. They have the generational players. The Yanks, they have one generational player and a bunch of Band-Aids. We are not the same. And it's just sad to see why him inherit such an amazing opportunity, which we all here in the chat would kill for. And he's just not active. And it's not really about opening the wallet. That's an easy thing to do. Opening the wallet is pretty easy, right? It's not about that. It's about taking an active role, holding standards, setting standards, saying, this is what I expect, this is our goal, this is how I want us to achieve it. If you do not reach that goal, you're out. We'll bring in somebody who does. That's how every successful sporting franchise is run. Now, the Yankees always say our goal is to win championships. Well, they've not won anything since 2009. And there's been no changes in that period. None. There's been no changes since 2018. They've won absolutely nothing. From 2018 to 2025, won absolutely nothing. And there has been not a single major change at manager or front office or analytics. It's not about spending. The Yankees' expenditure is high. The Yankee expenditure is high. I don't doubt Hal's wrong there. He's right. It is extremely high. But you have to be spending smarter. If you're saying that you spend the most on analytics, is that the best analytics department? I don't think anybody could stay here comfortably and say this is the best analytics department. He spends the most on the front office. Is this the best front office in the league? This is definitely not the best front office in the league. It's by far not the best coaching staff in the league. That's for freaking sure. So any objective person could say our front office isn't the best in the league, our coaching staff isn't the best in the league, and our analytics isn't the best in the league. Yet you spend more than everybody else. So it's not about spending in those departments. It's about bringing in the best and making changes and setting goals. You're not doing any of the above. Problem there, man. There's something there that's a problem. I just don't think that Hal cares. And it's sad to see. Right. We have the Blue Jays just signing Dylan Cease. Happy Thanksgiving, Toronto Blue Jays. That is an absolutely amazing signing. Salute to the Toronto Blue Jays. That is an absolutely amazing signing. Dylan Cease. Wow. Let's look into that. Thanks so much for those in the chat that brought that to my attention. It really shows that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to go all in. Good for them, man. Good for them. Yep, right-hander Dylan Cease and the Toronto Blue Jays are in agreement on a 7-year, $210 million contract pending physical. They get the best free agent in the market. Boom. that's freaking amazing. Well. So that was and then one last thing that Hal brought up was the whole thing about wanting a salary floor and a salary cap, for the reason being that he wants the smaller market teams to be more competitive. Again, I'm not quite sure why that's a fight that Hal even should be entering into as the owner of the Yankees. Do you think the owner of the Padres, the owner of the Blue Jays, the owner of the freaking Red Sox, the owner of the fucking Dodgers, the owner of the Mets care about the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Colorado Rockies or the Oakland / freaking A's, wherever they are now? Do you think George would have lost any sleep on any of that? Absolutely not, and nor should they. What are we doing here, man? You've spent more time worrying about small market teams than you are about the well-being of your own organization that has not won. Like, Hal, you're sitting on a gold mine. You have more to spend on players than everyone, bar the Dodgers. And you're sitting there worrying about the Pittsburgh Pirates? That's not your battle to win. That's not your battle. Focus on your own house. And it's not just that. It isn't just about like focus on your own house. But by the way, there is parity in baseball. There absolutely is parity on baseball, right? Because if you look at the list of the winners or those that have competed in the World Series over the last decade, there is a decent number of small market teams that have made it. I mean, look at it. The Nats, the frickin' Nats, the Cubs, the Royals, and the Rangers have won more World Series than the Yankees over this past decade. The Washington Nationals and the Kansas City Royals. By the way, Tampa Bay have made a World Series. Parity is not really a huge issue. Due to the luxury tax for one, the penalties for signing free agents that have turned down a qualifying offer, all that stuff, and then the sacrifice of draft picks to sign these major free agents. The Yankees have not signed a number one outside free agent since Garrett Cole. That's the last time. And that was what, 2021? 2020, 2021? That was the last time the Yankees have signed the best free agent on the market outside their organization. The Yankees aren't doing it anymore. So I wouldn't say spending is this huge issue right now for like this huge frightening issue. You're just scared of the Dodgers because you refuse to try and compete with them. But look at it. The Kansas City Royals and the Washington Nationals have won more championships than the Yankees have in this past decade. Forgive me for not giving a shit what these small market teams are doing. They're good for them. They're doing it better than the Yankees are. The Yankees battle really should be making the most of the plethora of options that you have at your disposal as the freaking head of this empire. Be better. Want it, but I can't ask my owner to want it. It comes from the heart, and I just don't think he has it. He just doesn't have the heart for it. But here we go. Let's have a look and see what those in the chat have got to say. The Jays' front four of Gosman, Cease, Yisavage, and Bieber, excluding Barrios, is tough to crack. You know what? Blaze is spot on here. The Yankees need Tucker now more than ever. The Yankees need to be the Yankees. The Yankees need to be the Yankees. Stop worrying about small market teams. Stop saying, oh, we'll see what the Dodgers are going to do. We'll see what happens next year with them. See how that plays out. It's already played out. They're a dynasty. You should be aiming for them. You should be gunning for them. So this free agency is huge. It's absolutely huge, this free agency. Now, a lot of these words can be forgotten about if they have a good winter. And in fairness to Hal, he hasn't said that there is really a budget set in place. So really there's no reason why we shouldn't go get Kyle Tucker. Bring in the star Japanese talents like Imai or Okamoto. Sign Imai, sign Okamoto, sign Kyle Tucker. Rebuild your bullpen. And your team's going to be fine. Fuck it, go get Pete Alonso. Why not? They need a righty bat. Heck, trade for Corey Seager. Do something, but you got to start flexing. Bring some stars in the building. Not for the fans. For Aaron Judge. Hello? His window is closing. The fact that you couldn't win a championship when this guy was earning pennies before his major contract. You had all that time. And you still couldn't put a team around him. So forgive me for not having any faith that now that he's getting paid $40 million a year, they're going to put any fucking faith, any team around him. The last time we put a proper team around him was 2024, and we made the World Series. But, and here's the brilliance of Brian Cashman. Alex Verdugo was the everyday left fielder. He was the everyday outfielder that year. Who couldn't see the field? Trent Grisham. Who just got paid $22.5 million by the New York Yankees last week? Trent Grisham. Do not try and sell me that this front office is the best at what they do. Trent Grisham was a fourth outfielder in 2024. He was never used. In fact, he wasn't even a fourth outfielder. He was a fifth outfielder. He wasn't even used. 2 years later, he's getting paid $22.5 million. And Verdugo was out of the league. They partly lost the championship because of Verdugo in 2024. They should be ashamed of themselves, man. Aaron Judge is playing crazy stuff. He's doing crazy stuff, and you're not putting a team around him. I keep making this point that the Yankees treat every single year like they're in a 12-month vacuum. They're not speculating to accumulate. There's no vision. Their payroll is bloated with above-average players as it stands. Whereas had they made the right moves at the right time, where you signed a Freddie Freeman when you needed a first baseman, you signed a Corey Seager when he was a free agent, you signed a Bryce Harper when he was a free agent, a Manny Machado. I'm not saying all of them, but when those guys were free agents, you signed at least one of them. Jesus. It's a better use of money than spending exactly the same for Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks. Don't tell me this front office is cooking, man. Do not try and fucking sell me that. You can't sell me that. But shout out to the Dodgers. They're a dynasty. Shout out to the Blue Jays. They lost the World Series. You know what they're doing? They ain't crying about it. They're just going to go on the best free agent pitcher on the market in Dylan Cease. That is a big move, man. That is a big boy move. Let's see how that works out. That's be pretty exciting if you're a Blue Jays fan. He's a hell of a pitcher, man. And I didn't have a great year last year, 8-12 with 4.55 ERA, but the year before, 3.40 ERA. 2022, 2.22 ERA. That's a good move. Good move for the Blue Jays. Well, PEDs aside, if there's anyone that's due to have a drop-off year, it is Grisham. Very similar to Jurickson Profar, regardless of the PEDs. That's a very good comparison. If there's one player that is due to have a massive decline, it is Trent Grisham. But the Yanks are on the hook for him. Hey, dude, there's no doubt, man. The Dodgers would have they're going to dynasty. Best team in the league by far. Got the best players. They're just the best. And that's what the Yankees should be aiming for. But they're not. But they're very proud of their togetherness. God bless them. They're very proud of that togetherness. But now we're heading into the winter. This is the first major move of the winter. The Blue Jays have gone for it. It's great. Great for the league. Now let's see how the Yankees respond. Now, I really want to be excited. I really want to be excited. And the options are there this winter to have an exciting team. Imai, Okamoto, Kyle Tucker. Those are the three names I'm looking at. Pete Alonso. I really think that would be a smart move. We need to bring in a major free agent. A major free agent. In order to help Aaron Judge. You notice I haven't mentioned Cody Bellinger because I don't believe that he's on that level offensively. Tucker's better. Go get me Kyle Tucker. If the Yankees just walk away with bringing back Cody Bellinger and signing Giolito, they're cooked. Completely cooked. They got to be aggressive. I was a little concerned when Hal said that he loved our infield. By the way, in that press conference, he said that he was really, really happy with our infield. I was like, really? As it stands, we don't have a major league first baseman. As it stands, we have the worst shortstop in the American League. If not one of the worst position players in all of baseball, in Anthony Volpe. You do not have a league average hitter at third, and you do not have a league average hitter at catcher. How are you so happy with his infield? God knows. God knows. The Yankees, well, that was the one thing I do agree with Hal, though. I think our starting rotation is incredibly exciting going into next year, even without making any further moves. Cole, Rodon, Fried, Luis Gil, Schlittler, very exciting. If you add another arm like an Imai, this team's going to be absolutely set. JKB. Realistically, the infield is kind of set, unfortunately. Jazz, Rice, McMahon, and Caballero. I like all four of those guys. But for me, Ben Rice is a catcher. He's not a first baseman. McMahon isn't a league average bat at third base, but he's an all-world Gold Glove third baseman. And I love me some Caballero. But the Yankees pigeonholed themselves into the whole Caballero thing by saying that they want him to be a utility guy that's going to play anywhere and everywhere. So even though he's a much better shortstop than Anthony Volpe, much more valuable player than Anthony Volpe. But regardless, yeah, Jazz Chisholm is set. But he needs to have a big year, man. Because I'm not convinced yet. Like, skill set wise, very convinced. Love him. But his mentality is a little bit out there. Yes, I completely agree with that too. I would move Rice to catcher. Honestly, they should try and go after Okamoto first. Yeah. No argument there. Like, this would be absolutely fine, but they do need to upgrade the infield. You need to ensure that you have some league average bats in that infield. First move I make, Anthony Volpe, goodbye. I'd DFA him, honestly. If there's no trade that can be made, no one's going to trade for him. He's that bad. I would just DFA him personally, but the Yankees won't do it. But forget about him at shortstop. He's regardless. Forget about him. He's ass. I really like McMahon. I think he's great. Love that glove. I'm not that worried about his bat as long as there's better bats around him. Thus, let's upgrade those areas. Put Ben Rice at catcher. First base, let's upgrade first base. I want a good bat, good glove there at first base. Okamoto would make a ton of sense. I'd also say Pete Alonso would make a lot of sense too, because we do need a righty bat. Save that Volpe money. Good God. Could you imagine paying Anthony Volpe anything? He shouldn't be anywhere. He should be, I'm sorry, he should be cleaning toilets in McDonald's. He's not a freaking shortstop. What do I make of the Dylan Cease move? I think it's great. I have a ton of respect for the Blue Jays. They're not wallowing in self-pity. They're going for it. They're like, how, right? We almost got there. What do we need to do to get better? We need better pitching. One of the best pitchers on the market. Now, he is coming off a down year, but I do trust the Jays coaching. And I think they'll get a tune out of him. And I think he'll be more the Dylan Cease of the White Sox rather than the Dylan Cease of the Padres. It was a pretty good move. Red Sox got Sonny Gray. That was a good move too. It's diabolical. Maybe that's a bit mean. No, it's not. Fuck Anthony Volpe. The Blue Jays overpaid. Well, yeah, if you look at his previous years, you're not wrong. He's coming off some bad years. Last year wasn't a great year. 4.55 ERA, 8-12 record, 133 WHIP. It wasn't a great year for him. But in 2024, he was very good for the Padres with 3.47 ERA, 107 WHIP, 14-11. So he was good at the Padres 2024. He also pitched a complete game that year. 2025 was a down year. It wasn't a horrible year, but it was a down year for sure. 2022, he had a 2.20 ERA. And 2021, he had an ERA in the threes. So, you're going to get somebody that's going to give you, bare minimum 3.50 ERA kind of guy, maybe a little bit higher. It's good. It's a good statement of intent. You're always going to overpay in free agency. It's just the way that the free agent market is now with inflation. Not overly worried about overpay. That's why the Yankees shouldn't be worried about what it's going to cost to go and get Kyle Tucker. Don't worry about it. You're the freaking Yankees. You got to take advantage of this window. The Yankees have completely missed the whole point of this. The whole point of this is to take advantage of Aaron Judge's window. Judge, his window, I'd be shocked if it's still open. But if it is still open, it's only open a smidge. Right? But you've had a generational player for this amount of time, like this long stretch of time, over the past 10 years, and you've not put any kind of team around him? That's on you. How? It's on you, Cashman. It's on you, Boone. Cashman, stop bringing in Band-Aids. You lost on Soto. Don't lose on Kyle Tucker. You passed on great free agents like Manny Machado, Freddie Freeman. You decided not to make a trade for Matt Olson. You're the one you decided that you didn't need Seager. Freaking sort it out, man. Because sooner or later, Aaron Judge is going to retire. And could you imagine what this Yankee team's going to be like without Aaron Judge? And then when Big G leaves and his contract's out in 2 years, the Yankee team's going to be absolutely diabolical. It'll be diabolical. Thus, you better start investing. Right freaking now. I think Imai will land on the West Coast. You know what I like about Imai? He says he wants to take down the Dodgers. That's someone that you want to invest in. He doesn't want to jump on the super team. He wants to beat the super team. Get me Imai. I would love to see what Lombard do. I'm really excited about him, but forgive me, man, but the way that the Yankees have done what they've done to their prospects, like Jason Dominguez, Peraza, Florial, Clint Frazier, what I saw from Anthony Volpe, forgive me, but I need to see it. I need to see it before we talk about captaincy. I actually need to see him. Dominguez was meant to be the Martian, and the Yankees don't like him. So, yeah, let's wait. Let's wait on that. Yep. I mean, it's set up. It's set up. So go get Imai. It's set up. Go get him. I would love to acquire this guy. I would love to stake a claim in the Japanese market. But the Blue Jays have definitely given themselves a Thanksgiving gift. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, everybody's Thanksgiving coming up. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Looking forward to all-day football tomorrow. Bunch of good games. Looking forward to that. I actually already had my early Thanksgiving with my mom. I had a nice big turkey meal. And tomorrow I'm just going to donate to football. So I'm sure all you guys will have your all different plans and stuff like that. So my very best wishes to yourselves and your families. And thanks so much for spending your evening with myself, talking about Hal and the Yanks and stuff like that. And we will be back next week with Uncle Tats, and hopefully we'll get some more takes from Rob soon, if Rob's schedule will allow him in the short term. Very exciting things coming up for the Pinstripe Chronicles. So if you guys could please hit the sub button, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the hype button, hit any kind of button that helps the podcast. It would really, really appreciate it. Issy, thanks so much, and happy Thanksgiving to you too. Thanks to the pod. My pleasure. Love talking ball with you guys, and looking forward to doing it more. The Yankified Podcast will keep you up to date and keep it real on all things Yanks. So really appreciate it, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to go sit and watch the Knicks now. Take care, guys. God bless. See you next week.